Sometimes going outside and living life is terrible. It's always some sort of extreme temperature out there. And there are people. So sometimes you just want to sit down, turn the volume up, play some video games. Today is our day, retro gamers. Today we're taking a look at Pilotswings 64 on the Nintendo 64, because of course it was. What other games end in 64? Released as a launch title in 1996, Pilotswings 64 is a flight simulator with an obvious Nintendo twist and appearance. Initially you take control of a hang glider, a jetpack, or a gyrocopter. Using these contraptions, objectives must be completed. These include flying through rings, taking photos of monuments, or destroying targets, as well as even some boss fights of some sorts. These get more and more varied as you progress, opening the door for plenty of potential game happy time away from the elements and scary people of the real world. Like today for instance, I was nearly hit by an old dude in a jeep who was too busy picking his nose to notice me. The world is a scary place. I only go outside to buy important supplies, like more video games. Now, while this may look like it could be packaged as your first flight simulator, the game mechanics are quite solid, as it was partially developed by Paragon Entertainment, who were originally into developing simulation software for space and aviation companies. While everything may have that cartoony Nintendo vibe going for it, the, I guess, physics are quite realistic. Well, I guess they are. I'm a video game reviewer, goddammit, not a scientist. What I'm saying is, it looks like a kid's game but is made by smart people. So yeah, physics. This makes it somewhat realistic, but hard. Really hard. Some reviewers have likened it to an early version of Wii Sports minus the motion controls. I agree to an extent. The graphics are very similar and some minigames even have some likeness. But the biggest thing about Wii Sports was that it and the Wii opened the gaming world up to the casual market a few years before smartphones did. This is where the games differ. This game is way too hard for the casual market. It doesn't even start out that easy. You'll walk for a while to get past the first couple of levels, and then it's pure struggle town until you get your skills up and actually progress some more. This is not a game that can be picked up and simply played. It starts hard, and then just continues to get harder. It's just about the only flaw of this game, really. The learning curve shouldn't have been so steep. On one hand though, this is actually something I can respect. There's lots of patience and dedication required for each level, and there's an abandoned ET landfill of those. If you dedicate yourself, you'll have a long game here, full of plenty of levels that take you quite a while to complete. Not like it's a completely fruitless endeavour either. The game does reward you with some amazing mini-games. One has you launching your character out of a cannon, while one has you jumping around the map, and the coolest shoot since Back to the Future 2. But the coolest is where you just flap around at your own leisure. There is no time limits or objectives, you can just explore the maps. That's one very cool thing about this game, the environments. Since it was a launch title, Nintendo were doing their best at the time to show what the 64 was really capable of. The maps are huge and quite detailed. The detail just oozes out of the N64's events as you play this, because that's just how much of it there is. It was really the first game that if you saw something in the distance, you could actually travel to it in real time with no loading. This was groundbreaking at the time. Never in a game could you do that. Sure, the levels are quite small compared to current open world games, but it was usually further than what the N64 could render at any one time, giving the bigger than usual levels an even bigger in appearance. This was groundbreaking at the time. Never in a game could you do that. Sure, the levels are quite small compared to current open world games, but it was usually farther than what the N64 could render at any one time, giving the bigger than usual levels an even bigger appearance. The only downfall is that sometimes the frame rate can drop, but it's not really a problem. The odd drop is totally worth it. The music is mostly okay, if a bit reminiscent of cheesy porno music sometimes, but mostly what you'd expect from a Nintendo game. Some reviewers have complained about it being too jazzy, but hey, better than generic rock like most games of that era. Hell, it might even be considered generic jazz, but I'm not too much of a jazz fan so I can't really comment. Otherwise, it melts into the background mostly, but really stands out in the Birdman stages. It's so calming in that stage, which really fits in with the gameplay. Sadly, this game was overshadowed by Super Mario 64 a bit since they were released in the same batch, but this game is a classic in its own right. Everything about this game is tight except for the difficulty level, which may lock some gamers out who just can't be stuffed, but otherwise, this is a completionist dream. You'll spend heaps of time in this game if you decide to get into it fully. It's a great way to introduce yourself to flight sims, or it's great to pick up even if you're already a seasoned veteran when it comes to them. The controls are simple, so it's an easy game to get into, but a hard one to master. And that, my friends, is my cliched saying for this week. Thanks for watching, viewers. Let me guide you around the screen of magical clickable links and moving images. My personal favourite clickable link in this video is the subscribe button. Please click that and all my released videos will show up in your feed, which I usually release once a week. There is also a clickable link to my blog where I write about this fine hobby. That's been running for over 3 years now. And the last 2 clickable links are for the 2 reviews before this, if anything happens to catch your fancy there. And lastly, there is my Facebook page. You'll have to click the link in the description for that because nothing is truly easy, but hey, that's just how the world works. Thanks again for watching if you're still listening, and I'll hopefully catch you next time.